Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy and I'm not stopping making Battlefield videos, okay? I gotta get that in nice and loud and nice and early because some people love to freak out. I'm still gonna make Battlefield content, but it's time for change. And I figured as you're an integral part of this channel, you should be able to hear why things are gonna be different. Now, some of you can dislike this video into oblivion like absolute toddlers, as always happens when I talk about doing anything other than Battlefield. It truly won't make an ounce of difference today. In fact, it'll probably only strengthen my decision that this is the right idea. And you'll find out why. I'm gonna do what's best for this channel that I've built. Now I'm gonna go into detail here today and cover everything I can think of, so this can be done and dusted and I don't have to talk about it again, so this might get kind of, in-depth and long, just so you're aware. These changes are partly necessitated by Battlefield 5 itself, and I will talk about that if that's what you're here for, hoping for some juicy details. I will go over how I feel about the current state of Battlefield 5, but this isn't a hit piece, alright? I'm not here to bash the game, and I do still enjoy it overall, although I'm sick of saying that. I'm just gonna give my honest opinion about where I feel the game is at right now, and why I don't feel like solely covering it anymore. But mostly these changes are just the right thing to do for the long-term aspirations and I guess stability of the channel. Plus it's just better for me mentally, and I'll go over all of that as well. So if you care about hearing my thoughts about Battlefield 5 as a whole at this stage, the reasons why I'm changing things around here, and what's set to come, then stick around, hang out and enjoy. If not, then all good, that's fine, I'll maybe catch you in my next piece of content. Also, as I know it's the norm for people not to watch the whole video, I'll get my requests for the comment section in now for you guys. So please leave suggestions below for games and content ideas you'd like to see. Preferably on games that are currently popular or are set to be released within the next year or so. I know some of you want to see me play all these old games and stuff, I get requests for that all the time, but it's just not going to do anything for me, If nobody is really interested in that game now, then it's just not going to be good for me. So anyway, what's changing? Well, I'm diversifying the channel. I said I was going to do this a long time ago and it never came about. I got wrapped up in covering Battlefield 1 super hardcore and growing through that, but the time is right now. So first off, there will be other games, but Battlefield will remain as a core part of the channel, at least for this current point in time. I still enjoy the game and I've built this channel on it, so there will still be Battlefield content, but it's likely going to be far more entertainment based rather than news or information based. And I'll also explain the reasoning for that in a little while. But besides all that, what's going to be on the channel? Well, I'll get into that in detail towards the end of the video, but primarily it will be first-person shooters. They're what I enjoy and what I tend to be good at, so it makes sense. Plus that makes for a reasonably smooth transition from Battlefield into a multi-game channel. As you know, Battlefield itself is a first-person shooter, but essentially if it's a shooter, it will probably be considered. But I also plan to do analysis pieces, which won't be confined to just shooters. Concept ideas, like certain games being pay to win despite being full price. The difficulty of managing the hardcore and casual aspects of a community in different games and things like that. So basically, to break it down, the content will be far more entertainment based, far more varied, and will have a sprinkling of really in-depth think pieces as well. So let's get into what the reasons are for me wanting to get away from just doing Battlefield content that are directly linked to the game itself. Then afterwards I'll talk about the reasons that are far more wide-ranging and non-related to BF5. Well, essentially, I don't think the game is in a good enough state for how long it's been out for now. It's no secret that the game was rushed out way ahead of time, leaving the developers with almost a no-win situation, as they now have to constantly try to make up ground, fixing problems that just shouldn't have been in the game at release. This also seems to cause new problems every time there's a patch, and I'm just tired of that cycle. My channel became somewhat of a news and analysis hub for Battlefield 5, which was pretty good for views, and probably still could be, but not great for my own happiness. In order to report on the game honestly, I had to bring up the problems the game was facing and seemingly constantly adding to. Now that gets a lot of ill-considered hate. If you're often bringing negative news about something, because there's a lot of it, it seems a big chunk of the Battlefield community will then just brand you as negative. And I've now dealt with that unfairly, I feel, for a long time. So I basically stopped talking about news. I just sacrificed getting those views. I think really proving that I'm not just here to be negative about the game. I chose not to get views and not to receive money because I was so sick of it. I encourage other people to just do what they think is right and ignore the naysayers. but in this instance, I just had enough. It just became demoralizing, making content to inform and then having it thrown back in my face. When you combine that with ever declining interest in the game and content produced for it, you're just not going to be in a good situation. The vast majority of Battlefield viewership seems to be news-based, and I don't want to do that, so it doesn't take a genius to work out that something likely needs to change. There's also that I'm just honestly tired of waiting for the game to reach an acceptable state. Plus, it seems like a constant struggle to find new content to cover. Battlefield 5 hasn't gone as planned. I think even the most positive of fans can see that if they put aside their bias. It's not been a good overall result in terms of publicity, hype, player interest and whatever else. And that's become draining, having to cover it, hope for the best, deal with its problems, give honest feedback, but also have to then defend why you're still playing the game. I also find the Battlefield community to be difficult. I don't want you as an individual to be offended, of course. And there are some awesome people in the Battlefield community, many of them in fact, and the majority are decent human beings. I have a lot of them in my own community, which is awesome, but there's also a sizable chunk that are very challenging, as you may also be aware of considering you might be in the comment section, watching videos, dealing with them in the game yourself and all that jazz. The Battlefield community seems to be far more elitist and incendiary than those of many other games. Everything is taken so seriously. Humorous videos are met with mass responses of derision and intense criticism, even though it's just supposed to be a joke. It feels impossible to cover anything in Battlefield 5 without people going for your neck. News, humour, tips, whatever it may be. There's this wave of insults waiting for you, and the game itself has at least somewhat caused this. All of the problems and controversies have caused some people to go towards one extreme or the other, and they're waiting to take it out on someone, whether they're aware of that or not, and it tends to be the content creators. All you have to do is look at the feedback and dislikes that I and many others have had on some videos, and you can get the idea pretty quickly. Often the message of the video doesn't matter, and it sometimes isn't even listened to. Conclusions are jumped to, false narratives are created, and the visceral hate rolls in. I don't want to have to deal with that every day anymore, and I think that's fair. I'm just tired of arguing about a video game. Then there's just the overall low viewership of Battlefield 5. Sure, some people still pull views, but there's few of them. They tend to be pretty big channels, and even they're getting lower views than they might have expected. I've seen Westy talk about it on multiple occasions. Battlefield 5 just isn't a good platform for growth now. I mean, it's not even a good platform for reliable income. Where it used to be that a few hundred views would gain me a little bit of growth, now I can pick up thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of views, and yet see little to no growth. It just feels like interest in the game has died off to such a huge extent, and way earlier than anticipated. Plus, everything seems to be labelled as clickbait in the Battlefield community. It's weird to me. Creators get a handful of characters to try to put across what an entire potentially in-depth video is about, or even a joke video, so they might use an ironic title, and they have to make it appear attractive. And not all of those characters are seen on all platforms. That's so hard to do, but yet everything seems to get labelled as clickbait. Whereas for many other games, nothing is said. The situation there just seems to be understood. It's a strange one, it's frustrating, but I'm going to leave that one there. I hope you at least kind of understand now the position that content creators are in when it comes to making titles. Now, I do just want to quickly mention something here, something that would have at least sweetened the situation and incentivized me to focus more so on Battlefield moving forwards. I'm not bashing any collective or any individual here either, and these things aren't owed to you or anything like that, but I often get asked about this, so I'll address it now rather than multiple times over and over elsewhere. So, becoming a DICE friend and, I guess more importantly, an EA game changer. I'm neither of those. And while it isn't just owed to me at all, and I understand that, I do feel very disappointed that neither has happened, nor looks like happening. I've been asked about this a lot by people who are surprised it hasn't happened, and I never have a good answer as to why it hasn't. I don't know. I waited, and it just never came about. I'm not saying that it's unfair I haven't been given it. It's up to them after all, what's best for them. But I do feel put out that I've stuck with this franchise through a tumultuous 2 or 3 years, produced like 400 or 500 plus videos on it, been extremely active in the community, helped people in the community, given feedback, been constructive, tried to be a positive force and all of that stuff. I've been nominated and suggested for both DICE Friends and Game Changer status. I know this for a fact because I've been told, and yet it never happened. And I know everyone can't be a game changer, and I know the idea of being a DICE Friend isn't just about having the label, it's about what you do for the community. I honestly understand, and maybe this sounds like sour grapes, so I do apologise wholeheartedly if it does, and that's not my intention. I'll just end out this by saying that at times I've looked at some who are game changers or DICE friends, and I struggle to work out how or why. Not because they don't necessarily deserve it, but because from a totally unbiased and logical standpoint, when I step back and look at it with a clear mind, I can't work out what more I could have done and why my efforts weren't enough. But theirs were. Even when seemingly they did less. Like, genuinely, when they seemingly did less. But I'll leave it there. And so onwards to things more focused on the wider gaming world and also myself personally. I'm gonna try to make this a little brief as this is getting way longer than I expected. So basically, I'm burnt out on just Battlefield content. I'm burnt out on making the same kind of stuff. I want to enjoy myself again. I also want to grow again and get this channel to a point where I don't have to worry about if things will continue to be okay and what my long-term future holds. There's not a chance I could do that in just Battlefield 5, and the next Battlefield is a long way away. Playing other games is just better for me in every way. Now for a while the views will probably be painfully low, as YouTube doesn't recognize me as a multi-game channel and will probably still recommend me as just a Battlefield channel. Plus I don't yet have any big games to jump onto to get, a big surge in viewership. But it's necessary to push through that. I understand and accept that will be the case. It's just something I have to deal with to get to where I want to be. I've seen the growth that someone like Modest Pelican has achieved since successfully breaking out from just doing Battlefield. The difference is night and day, and he's much happier for it. We've spoken at length about it, and he told me about his own struggles to pull views initially when he tried to branch out. It's just part of the process, so I'm going to trust the process. Plus my own branching out will allow me more scope to do stuff with other creators. Fun stuff, whether it's Pelly, Dame Over or whoever else. Maybe at some point I'll plug my controller into my PC or play some cross-platform stuff, which would open me up to see if Fabian or Nickerman or Teabag or whoever else would do me the honour of playing with me. Not just for growth, in fact not for growth is the key principle. Hell, my channel can't currently help them to grow much anyway when you compare, but for fun, because they're good people and I like them. It's just all gonna be better overall. Like if you look at my biggest videos, surprisingly few of them are from Battlefield 5, even though this has been the game where I gained the most subs, and those subs were predominantly gained early on. My views are much lower now than even just a month or two ago as well, so getting less views on fresh content makes less of a difference now. It's just the right timing. And I was actually a far better Destiny player than Battlefield player, and yet I ended up here with a Battlefield focused channel. What I'm saying is there are many reasons for these changes and I'm excited for them. So what am I going to play? I said I'd give you a bit more detail at the start of the video. Well, that's the beauty of it, anything I want. But I can tell you what my plan is for my next few videos, although it's of course subject to change. We have 4 Battlefield 5 videos, 3 Battlefield 1 videos, a Rainbow Six video, a GTA video, a Destiny 1 video, and more. Then for future games to focus upon, I'm keen on the new Doom game set to come out, Rage 2, Borderlands 3 for sure, The Outer Worlds, and games of that nature. Plus, remember I've said you're more than welcome to suggest games and content ideas in the comments below. And yeah, that's where we're at. That's how I got here, and that's why things are changing. If you're still here with me, thank you for listening to all that. Leave a comment that says beans on toast so I know you got this far. And I hope you enjoyed the background footage and got somewhat excited for what I plan to bring to you in the future. If you did, it would be awesome if you'd like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications for more, and feel free to join my Discord server in the description and my pinned comment in order to get involved with my pretty sweet community. Here's the board of awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and I truly love them all deeply and of course often. If you want to join them on the board of awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy and I'll see you next time. Laters.